Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Shelly, how are you doing today?
I am well.
Yeah.
Good morning to you.
Good morning as well. Please introduce yourself and the name of your business.
My name is Shelly James, and I'm a partner at Porterco, an ad agency in California.
Awesome. We appreciate you coming on today, and we understand that time is one of our most valuable resources. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey.
My journey, I started my career in public relations, and I began actually as a Kelly temp and worked my way up to be an intern. It's pretty amazing when you don't even start out as an intern. I started out as a receptionist and worked into an intern. And then there wasn't a position. The partners split up in the PR agency, and so I said, well, I have a desk and you're going to educate me, and I'm in my last year of college at California State University in Sacramento, and if you're going to teach me, I'm going to stay for free. And then I worked just kind of independently for about 30 days, and then I got hired.
Okay, nice.
I ended up working my way up. I worked on healthcare, quick service restaurants, professional service companies, doing public relations, writing releases, pitching stories, getting sets ready for broadcast and public service kind of things. And I did that. I worked there and worked my way up truly from the receptionist to the vice president of that agency.
Oh, that is magnificent. Tell us a little bit about one of those branding stories that you just sticks out in your mind that was successful for you. Share us one of those branding stories you created for a business.
Well, I transitioned from PR into advertising, but while I was in PR, I actually took the advertising account for McDonald's restaurants with me from the PR agency, then a marketing agency, and then I became an account director. So I spent about 18 years on the McDonald's brand. And the wonderful thing about Sacramento, California, and Northern California, and some of the markets up here is that we had, when I was there, and it's still true today, but in a different way, we had an incredible dynamic mix of cultures, of opinions, of influences, and a really great mix of populations, as well as media mixes where we could concentrate and test products for McDonald's Corporation. And so in my role, I was a spokesperson for McDonald's restaurants introducing these new products. So I introduced the McCafes in Northern California, and we introduced the salads out here. As you might imagine, most of the produce at the time was coming from California farmers, and so it was a really fun story to tell about really how little the produce traveled or how fast we got it to the places where we needed to get it. And really working with the farmers, it actually kind of came full circle when we invited all of the farmers in California that produced food, tomatoes, lettuce, all of the raw ingredients for the salads. And we brought them up to the Capitol, and we had a legislative day for the legislators to really understand salads in a McDonald's context, because that had never really been, that's not how people imagined McDonald's, right? And so it was really enlightening both for me as a spokesperson, because I'd been on the brand for a while talking about hamburgers and selling hamburgers and fries, sold a lot of hamburgers and fries. And but it gave me an opportunity to talk about something different. Certainly the McCafe products were different because you didn't really normally go to McDonald's for a latte. You would come for your cup of joe, but not necessarily a latte.
Right.
But the salads were really something innovative. As a matter of fact, I won some national awards, and the template that we did in California was actually moved because there are other agriculture hubs throughout the United States where they source those materials, and And the legislative salad day that we did here was actually used as a model throughout the United States.
Okay, man, that's magnificent. That's a wonderful experience working with such a large corporation and, more importantly, having so much success in that. I wanted you to share that so people can understand, that you have had these experiences and there's reasons why, they should choose to work with you. So you worked on that particular campaign for 18 years. Was that with Porter? That was before Porter?
It was before Porter.
Okay.
And so while I knew Lori Porter, who hence the Porter name, we were friends. We worked on projects together because when you're in public relations, you work with lots of different people. At the time, she was an on-air personality. She worked on air, and she worked as their community service representative. So we worked together on a project. Over the years, we worked on a couple different things together. When I switched to advertising, I was account director for the agency that had the McDonald's business. She was actually my sales representative from a television station.
Okay.
And then lots of things happened. Primarily, I got a Mother's Day card from my son that said favorite color is pink, favorite movie Star Wars, favorite thing on our lap was our laptop. I lost my mind.
Yes. I get it. I love that Star Wars part. Just messing with you.
And so it really had, the burning the ship piece was never about the environment I was in, because I love agency.
Right.
I love working marketing. I love the job that I do. I actually have a law degree, and this was way more fun.
Okay. So would you say that the Mother's Day card was the event that happened that made you burn the ship and go into it, or was it something else?
Oh no. The burn the ship piece was, I actually burnt the ship because agency work is hard. It's a lot of hours. It's high energy. You're the first to be there. You're the last to leave. Every day, all day. It doesn't matter how seasoned you get. That's just the game. That's marketing in an agency environment. Whether you're a big agency, the agency that I was on McDonald's was very, very large. And when I started, I think I was employee 83, 84, and when I left, there were over 400 employees at that agency. And then I got that card that was meant in the most loving way possible. And I said, I can't work those kind of hours. So I had also done healthcare marketing in the PR tech. I had done PR for a healthcare system. And so I knew a lot about healthcare.
Okay.
And so I actually worked inside a hospital as the marketing director. And the real burn the ship piece was, I'm an agency girl. I love the passion of an agency. I love that, the craziness, because McDonald's, when I was an account director and when I was lead on McDonald's, that's all that I had time for. But I was doing lots of things. I was making sure that we were selling salads, but I was also making sure that we were selling fries and Cokes and hamburgers. So it was very, very busy, and I oversaw 250 restaurants. So it was big. There was a lot. And then in a hospital environment, while I was driving service lines of orthopedics and neurosurgery and really amazing, bright men and women that were saving lives, big, heavy stuff. I literally was in an operating room where they had stopped a man's heart and literally brought him back to life with a bypass. Oh. And when you're in that kind of, oh my heavens, environment, there's nothing you can do but be appreciative of all those men and women. And marketing becomes easy after that because you believe.
Yes. Yes, you're fully immersed into it. It seems like you were immersed into that situation, which, gave you even more faith into what it is that you were doing. Seems like that was an awesome piece of it.
Exactly. And then Lori and I met each other at an event during this time, or really close to that time. And there was another mutual friend of ours who is our media director to this day. And we had actually worked on a project together. And Lori went like this with her hands. She said, "This is my dream team." And I went back to agency. And so I started per project with her. And now Lori and I, media director, and a cast of a few other folks, We do full service marketing and I've been with her since 2012.
2012. Awesome. So good. That's a magnificent thing. We're 12, so we're 13 years in now. And what is it, that you guys do? For the people that are watching, how do you explain the services that you offer and, what is that value that you bring into those business owners?
We bring in 360 kind of experience. I've been doing this a long time. Lori's been doing it a long time, but she was on the news desk. So she comes from a reporter angle. She asks amazing questions. She can transforms words into magic and engaging conversations. Our media director has both agency experience, big agency experience. She's bought inside for radio stations. She's bought inside for county. So she understands municipality, which is a different kind of entity, and governmental agencies. And we've been friends for a long time. So we have the shorthand, right? And then we have creative directors. We used to have, pre-COVID, we used to have the traditional agency model with our entire team, creative team in-house. And we had one creative director and several creative other positions, whether it was video or production or design, including web design. And now I have the ability to tailor creative directors to the projects. But if I were to say, so we do full service. We do everything that a company could want while we may not do them in-house. What we call tactic agnostic. We don't sell PPC and we don't sell email marketing and we don't sell just a thing. We know what it takes to get marketing across the line and in front of those who you need to convert to sale or to an idea or to whatever it is that your end goal is. And so we have a team and different people we can plug in to make the best team. But if I were to say there's the one thing that we do better than most, and I can say that with lots of confidence because people have told us that, it's branding.
Okay.
It is because if you perfect your brand presence, everything else is easier, less expensive, and absolutely more impactful. And if you get it wrong, you're gonna waste money, you're gonna lose customers, and you're not going to get the momentum that you need.
Gotcha. Now, as you are talking about creating that brand, tell us a little bit about what that ideal client looks like that best fits for your service. Is it the solopreneur, or is it one that has 100 employees or a specific budget amount? Tell us a little bit more about what that ideal client looks like.
The ideal client for us really is those that have $1 to $20 million to spend on advertising. That's kind of our minimum to maximize the type of expertise that we have.
Okay.
That said, we absolutely have consulted solopreneurs. We have solopreneurs who have 7 and 8 brands. We have solopreneurs who are just getting started, and we consult to get their brand right, and then they take it in-house or use their friends and family to get them started. But we absolutely have done both. We are accustomed to working with larger brands, and our hourly rate isn't low. And so we have had both, but those who choose us most often are usually in the $1 million to $20 million kind of spend.
Okay. Now, as we are continuing to paint on the canvas so we have a clear picture of things, I'd like to ask what an ideal engagement looks like for you. I know with the client, they want to give you a couple dollars and make it work in 37 seconds. But what does an ideal engagement look like for you, and how you would like to work with that business as far as on a time frame wise?
That is a great question, and it's a great question, for lots of reasons. For me, it's a great question because if you just need a logo done, or if you just need a one piece done, or if you just need something fixed, that is not our sweet spot. We're expensive for that. That is not. Now, we can fix things. I solve big problems all day long, and it's what we do. But if you're going to just do that, that's not our ideal client. 90% of our business today is based on referral. We have to get travel tourism clients, some governmental clients with the RFP model because they're required to go through the RFP process. They can't do referral. But by and large, our favorite clients are those that are referred to us or of the same ilk, and they want to have a long-term relationship with us. One of our clients has been with us. Lori had the agency before I did. They've been with us since 2007. So we have a long-standing, we keep our clients because we have this healthy conversation. And so those that want a long-term relationship, or they're building a business that maybe they want to convert in 2 years. And so that long-term for us looks like it's 2 years because we have a beginning and a middle and an end, and that's long-term too. Because if we get to your goal and you sell, that's exciting for both of us because we have met the challenge and delivered what we've needed. But it's an ongoing relationship, not just a project.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. I always like to try to have that clarified because, again, I want the people on the show understanding how to best have the expectation to work with you and or send you over that correct opportunity. And talking about sending over that correct opportunity, I understand because you guys have a proven track record and it comes from word of mouth, the majority of it. But that other 10% that comes from outside, who have you found to be an ideal referral partner that sends you over those opportunities?
Usually leadership from the clients that we have. So we have done longstanding contracts with major hospitals, with attorneys, with law firms, and they're different. Law firm marketing is different than just attorneys. With mortgage companies, with banks, with DMOs, which are destination management organizations, so travel tourism. We've done business with cities, and city managers are great referrals. So usually the best referrals come either from the team that we've worked with because they want to work with us again. And so they're like, well, if we have a project, let's go back to Porterco. Or from the management that has been pleased with the results because we've delivered on time and on budget.
Okay. That makes sense because, again, I want to try to create a pretty picture like the one that's behind you so people can understand because I have been doing this for a while, and the more information and data we can share, the easier it is for us to connect. So thank you so much for sharing that about the business. And we've talked a little bit about your journey, some of those exciting things you've done with McDonald's, moving over to the opportunity with friends and business owners with Porterco. And I want to ask about some of those business skills or those best practices that you have acquired and nurtured that have helped you to be successful that maybe some of the entrepreneurs and business leaders that are watching today can add to their mix and help them. So can you share some of those skills?
I think the best advice I could offer that would be applicable to everyone is whether you're a personal brand, you are a celebrity or an influencer of some type, or whether you are managing a small company and you're making cookies, or you are offering community services or you're selling products or services. It's really about perfecting your brand presence. And the reason why it's so important is your brand is who you are. It's the DNA of who you are, whether it's a personal brand or a corporate brand. And how it gets expressed by others is absolutely determined by how you set your brand up. And so if your brand isn't set up for success, you won't be either. So I used to guest lecture at my alma mater, and I would take Time magazines, but the only one I could find today is my lovely partner Comsticks magazine. And I'd bring the magazine up, and I was in PR classes, and I'd say, this is advertising.
Mm-hmm.
These are the images that you get to select. You told them what the messages were. You chose the colors. You chose the photos. You even bought the placement. You paid to have this specific message designed the way that it looks right here, told with the words, and to be placed on the back cover. And there was a check that was written to this publication to make that happen. And because I grew up in PR, whether it's social or true, we call it earned media now, this is public relations, is how I would talk in those classes. These images, the placement, how the images are, usually on a Time magazine, it would be a person here.
Mm-hmm.
This is what others say about you. While you gave them the images, you gave them the interview, you gave them the support material, the author, the person who's interpreting all of those things, your brand, they get to decide how they deliver it back, how they write the story, the slant that they write, the position of the story. Is it on page 5? Did you get the cover? Is it this big? Is it 1,500 words? Those things matter, because if you create a brand story of not just what you are, but you incorporate the why and who you are, think of the opportunity for them to expand that space. It becomes a more engaging landscape. And so if I were to say one thing that would be the best thing to improve the growth of your business, it's not Google Ads, it's not email marketing, it's not paid advertising, because if it's not on brand, it is wasted money. And so if you get your brand right, it will cascade and elevate and make more momentum and more excitement than any dollar you could throw at it. Now, you have to spend money to get the momentum you need, depending on what your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
But if your brand isn't right, nothing will be right. And there's a couple ways to get your brand right.
Okay, you gonna share one or two of those?
I will share 3, because I don't want to. I have 10, but you're right.
Okay.
And so, if you haven't heard about the archetype process, Carl Jung is the innovator of the archetype process. Porterco uses the archetype process. And you identify 12 figures, whether they're the sage, think Einstein, the caregiver, or the ruler. These are most authentically reflect our core purpose, our aspirations. It's the storyteller us that we can relate to, that gives that brand that deeper instinctive narrative. So we take all of our clients through this process, and it can take anywhere from 3 days to 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the brand. And the first piece that I will say is that if you choose an archetype or a brand, tone and voice that is authentically you, it will be right the whole time you're in business, or the whole time during that era of your business. Businesses grow and change, and so your tone and voice change. Things of becoming a toddler and an adolescent and adult, your tone and voice changes. Who you are, I'm going to be Shelly James always, but who I am as a toddler and who I am as a teenager and who I am as an adult, I may use different languages. I may express different things. I may learn things that kind of change how my brand evolves. But authentically, who I am never changes. And so those are the things that some brands are afraid to share. Mm-hmm. They're like, the name of my product is this. I sell this for $1.29. Super. Why am I compelled to buy your product from you at $1.29 when I can get it for either $1 or $2 from somebody else? What is the magic about it? It's because mine is the best. It's sourced from this, and the colors are amazing. And I've been in business in 20 years, and you can trust me. And I've got a 100-day warranty. Give them of the why that you did it. What's your story? Infuse that in your brand. Don't be afraid to be authentically you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like just sticking with that first one in the archetype. I was gonna ask, but you explained it. It's more of why am I doing? It's more conscious thing now instead of just descriptions of what it is. Like it's yellow and it's big and it's bold. It's no like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because the village or country that I'm sourcing this product from, I'm able to help build them up, which is going to help do this instead of just giving me a surface. It seems like, is that correct assumption of what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And by integrating that archetype process, and it's a process, it's a hairdo. It's way too long for this chat today, right? But there is a full process, and if you've been in marketing for any, you've heard about target audiences, and if you've been in marketing for a little longer, you may have built personas, which is really honing in and naming your person and giving them an outfit and knowing what they do and where the persona dives deeper into your target audiences. It's even deeper than that with the archetype. Every single thing you do, if you have a fully built archetype brand, then every strategic and creative decision turns into this timeless human story that's connected. It's that whole, people don't remember what they do, but they remember what you say, right? They remember what they've heard and how you've made them feel. And so branding done right makes them feel, and they carry that with them way longer than they'll carry that $1.29 price point.
Yes, yes. Now, I know you have 10, and I know it takes time to go into each one, and I know we're just talking about the first one. But if you don't mind, let's talk about the second. What is the second most important off of the list of 10, and we'll just talk about that second one.
So before you can do your archetype, there's discovery and your strategic foundation, which really identifies your purpose, your vision, and your values. That's the who. You want to do that work before you get to archetype.
Okay.
So that's kind of 3 before it. And then after that, so now I understand that I'm a Sage brand, or I understand that I'm an Explorer brand, or I understand that I'm a creator brand. So creator brands I have a client who's a creator brand, and actually it's the new first time in 30 years as a marketer, I have authentically run into creator brands that I get to represent. I'm having a ton of fun because think of probably the most iconic creator brand are Legos.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you get to build on them, right? And she's a healthcare brand, and she's building innovation through telemedicine. So it's really amazingly impactful and fun. Yeah. And so what happens next, after you have this archetype, you have to have this visual identity and a name. And the biggest aha moment that I have found with either branding or rebranding, because sometimes we come in when the brand has fallen flat because it hasn't evolved with the times of the company and the changes of the company. They've become something more than a toddler. They're an adult now, and they need to behave like an adult. So we need to change their brand. Is the name's wrong. You tell a business owner that there's names wrong, you might just be rode out of town.
Yeah, I get it.
That's probably one of the most uncomfortable conversations we ever get to have. And sometimes it is a non-starter, right? The name is the name, and we will build a brand that somehow props it up. Yeah. So we, and then that verbal identity. And I think for the sake of time, the other most important thing about brand, which kind of infuses all the other steps, is the tone and voice.
Okay.
And it is about why you're incorporating the why, making sure that what it is and what it is not. That is probably the most eye-opening exercise that you take teams through, is you choose a word. We're um, we're scholarly, which means we've learned, this would be for a biotech firm or some other education, right? We're scholarly, but we're not academic. So I can bring all that knowledge to life. I don't just leave it in the words in a textbook with the scientific findings in the experiment, right? And so it's about really clarifying what the words are and what the words aren't, and particularly with your team inside, because everybody kind of walks around with their own little Webster's dictionary of how they interpret words and how they use words. And so you really kind of have this exercise of, what's our Webster's definition of this word? How are we going to use it? How are we not going to use it? And how it shifts by content, right? If you say hi, or you say hi, those are the same words interpreted completely differently. So you have to be mindful of those things. And particularly in social, hi and hi spelled the same in social. So you've got to do a lot to bring those two differences. The other piece is consistency. This is the last piece of technical advice I will give. For the tone and voice, where I see the largest departure and the brand fragmentation is their corporate materials that are in the brochures or in the letters that's gone through ChatGPT and has been approved by 12 different people on their staff, and every single image has been curated and it's been blessed by somebody or a team of somebody's. And then you get an intern that you've allowed to do your social media that hasn't even gone through a briefing of tone and voice, and they are completely off the rails from a brand perspective. The tone, the voice, the images, the font, the colors, nothing matches. And so you're like, which do I believe? The one that's communicating with me every day in social, or the one that's heavily curated, perhaps on their web, but certainly in their print materials?
Yeah.
And so really have to watch that consistency among team, particularly generational. I use very different words than lots of other people do. And so you have to make sure that you have commonalities of words that you're going to use to describe your company and the services or the products that you sell.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As you were sharing that, I was thinking about how I define a term in my industry compared to one of the sales reps, or, when I think of a certain situation and I see this, because of my experiences and, the thousands and thousands of clients that I've spoken to, I see it differently, but universally, it needs to be one way, one song, one voice situation, instead of 14 different interpretations of the same jargon word. So I can see how that can be important with the consistency portion of things.
Your analogy about music is probably one of the best when it comes to brand. Think of it as an orchestra. If you've ever gone and seen a live performance of the orchestra and they're tuning their instruments before, because there's no expectation that they're all together, right? So you've got a trumpet going on, and you've got a clarinet, and you've got maybe a piano and a violin, and it's like ting, 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 all the way around. It's like mayhem. And then the conductor goes ting, 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 ting on the stand, and that experience is going to change, and you are anticipating it to be amazing. And sure enough, he strikes up his wand and they deliver the notes as they are supposed to, with a sheet music and practiced and rehearsed, and you get a symphony. Each one of those performers have to bring their best every day for that symphony to shine. And when you get an oboe that goes and you're like, holy cow. And it could have been whatever, a reed broke, whatever craziness happened to that poor musician, but that one malalignment, if you will, kind of soured that whole expression of the whole team. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure everybody's rehearsed, everybody shows up, everybody's on the same sheet music for you to have the experience that you want.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing these experiences. You can tell that you've had a lot of success in what you do, and more importantly, a lot of passion about what you do and the way that you're able to express it. I really wish it wasn't as much of a time, on it, because I would just like to continue to go through that process with you, because I'm learning a lot as you're explaining it. But, there are other segments of the show we have to touch, because so far, again, you have talked about your experiences. You have talked about your current business and how you're going about it. You've done a magnificent job of explaining how that engagement looks and what you send them through. So we want to turn the corner just a little bit to talk about you, Shelly James. We don't want to talk about business the whole time. So let's just say that these people listen to you and they're getting, good engagements, and you got people's brands changing, and time and money is not an issue. What is it that Shelly would do with her time?
So my husband had the luxury, the gift, however we want to express it, of retiring before I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a 40-foot fifth wheel
Okay.
that has more space in it than my girlfriend's apartment in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It really
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel much like camping.
Yes.
But we took it to Canada 2 years ago for 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my job and my amazing business partner and team, I could use Starlink and I could go wherever I wanted to. And I would work a couple weeks and I would take a couple weeks off. And I hiked Banff and Jasper and Vancouver and Whistler. And we hiked, and actually one of my favorite hikes was actually in the United States at Mount Rainier. And so what I would love to do, and my plan is that we get to a point where I would just come in and consult, solve big problems. I love solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun for me. It comes easy to me because solutions are very clear, because I've been doing it a really long time. And so what may be really hard for someone is really easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can come in and I could be wherever I want to be. And this fall, we're going to take a month and we're going to go just through Yellowstone.
Okay.
And our Starlink and I will be, and my husband will be hiking and hanging out, and I will work part of that time. And it just puts you in a different mindset. And big hairy problems, when I'm looking up the face of a bison, I'm like, nah, you're a big hairy problem of a different kind, buddy. I'm good.
I was going to ask that. I said, while you were on Mount Rainier and you were doing your hiking, what is that beautiful image, or what image comes to mind when I ask you what image comes to mind when you were on the mountain?
So, what you don't know is my living room. I take lots of pictures. I happen to be a pretty accomplished photographer.
Okay.
And I put them on canvas in my living room.
Mm-hmm.
And so we choose the favorite photo and we put it on canvas and we rotate them in our living room.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually, whether I'm in Rainier, I'm in Zion, I'm in Waimea Canyon and Kauai, the commonality to all of those pictures that are on my wall are big open spaces that we had to work to get to. Mm-hmm. They weren't, there isn't one of those pictures on my wall that we could have driven to. We had to get out, we had to move our bodies, we had to be healthy enough to do whatever that is. Some of them were more challenging. I think that's why I like the Rainier one. It was a 10-mile hike, and we went through meadows and then this volcanic kind of scene, and then we hit the snow line, and then we were in this really bitter wind and rain for a while, and then the skies opened up and it was sunny and amazing. And that was all within a course of a 4.5 or 5.5 hour hike. Mm-hmm. And so you feel like you live a world in a day. And so the commonalities are that. And then if there's any other commonality, of course, it's the good waterfall.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome because I was just, again, trying to get insight on what you're looking for. You're in the branding creative space. And I was wondering, what is it, that thing that stood out to you? And I can tell it's those open spaces, things that you can't see on a regular basis. You know, you have to actually put some work into going to see that. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, if the people are watching today have questions about your journey, some of those best practice you've shared, and let's hope, to, create an engagement so you can help them with their marketing, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
My email, I'll just share my email. I'm also on LinkedIn as Shelly James at Porterco. And so that's probably the easiest way. If people forget, they can just type in Shelly James. It's not as common as, I don't know, Jesse James or John James or so Shelly James, Shelly. And that's the same. And I'm just going to give you my personal email. It's Shelly at portercoagency.com. portercoagency.com. And feel free to ask a question. If I have more time, I will share that with you. Otherwise, I will likely give you a link to where you can find more information.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's important for people to reach out to you. I'm telling them it's important for them to reach out to you because you're a wealth of knowledge there. Now, as we get ready to end the show, we appreciate you coming on and sharing. For some guests, it's not that easy to get on and share, but you've been a magnificent guest. It's not been a problem for you. And we want to honor you for coming on and sharing by giving you the last word. So please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Oh, putting me on the spot. And I would actually stick with the theme for today is be authentically who you are every day, all day. That is how you're going to show up, whether it's a brand for a business or a brand if you're an influencer. Just be who you are every day, all day. And consistency, whether it's in marketing or in your life, is going to bring you the results that you want and need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today, Shelly. We appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Take care.
I will. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.